What if I were to tell you that the majority of us today are losing, not because we are lacking talent, but because we are lacking control over our mind? We scroll, we compare, we envy, and then we wonder why we feel weak, anxious, or stagnant. We pursue comfort, yet we feel more tired than ever before. We shy away from pain, yet we suffer each day. The reality is harsh, comfort is killing us. And struggle, as hard as it seems, is the germ of true power. The Stoics of ancient times understood this centuries before smartphones, social media, or self-help books. Marcus Aurelius, who was emperor of Rome, once declared, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is not a pretty quote. It is a tool, a means of existing in chaos and staying unmoved. Stoicism doesn't guarantee an easy life. It guarantees one that can't be broken. In this story, we're diving deep into 7 Stoic laws that will train you to become untouchable, to control your mind and silence your enemies. These aren't inspirational cliches. They're raw truths, battle-tested in ancient Rome and still painfully relevant today. Each one is a blade you can carry into modern life. But before we begin, I want you to treat this differently. Don't just sit there and watch like it is another motivational video. This is not background noise. This is your wake-up call. Write down the law that resonates with you the most. Pass it on to someone who could use it. And most importantly, don't skip ahead, because missing even one could cost you strength in the moments that matter most. Let's start. Law number 1. Master your inner fortress. Your kingdom is in your mind. Your fortress, your one real kingdom, and yet most people nowadays are captives in their own heads. They give away their peace to strangers on the internet, to newspaper headlines, to rumors, to fear. One inconsiderate remark, and their entire day falls apart. One failure, and they lose their self-assurance. If your peace can be taken from you this way, then you don't possess it. It possesses you. The only genuine power you ever really have is the power over your mind. Epictetus, a former slave, wrote, "Any man who can anger you becomes your master." Let it sink in. The moment you get upset at someone, the moment you let them control your emotions, you are no longer free. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That is, you don't get to choose what happens in life, but you always get to choose how you react. Consider it. You can't determine if people betray you, but you can determine if you break. You can't determine if your enemies conspire against you, but you can determine if they succeed in shaking your spirit. The Stoics' fortress is founded on this principle. Defend your inner world as your very life hinges on it. Because it does. When trained, your mind is serene amidst turmoil. You are firm in tempests. You are unmoved even when the earth under your feet shakes. So, how do you construct this fortress? Start with discipline. Every day, decide on one practice that fortifies your mind. Meditation, writing, taking a cold shower, quiet before the tumult of the day. These are not tricks. They are conditioning. Each action informs your mind. I am in charge of you, and not the other way around. Law number 1 is this: control your inner fortress, or the world will control you. Scribe this in your notebook now. My mind is my kingdom. Law number 2. Own your reactions, or be owned. Most humans now live like puppets. Someone pulls a string, they react. Someone insults them, they lash out. Someone ignores them, they feel worthless. Their emotions aren't theirs. They belong to everyone else. But the Stoics recognized that trap. They understood that the one thing you should never give up is your response. You cannot always dictate what occurs, but you can always choose how you react. That response establishes everything: your peace, your power, your future. Epictetus stated, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Those were not words of theory. He had been beaten, enslaved, and silenced. But even in bondage, he asserted liberty, because he was in control of his response. His body was subject to others, but his mind was inviolable. Now, ask yourself, how often do you give away that same power? When someone cuts you off in traffic and you lose it. When a coworker insults you and you brood all day. When someone ghosts you and you berate yourself. Every time you fly off the handle, you give up control. You let them possess you. Having your reactions is not weakness. It is mastery. Rage is simple. Instinct is almost simple. But silence, calmness, and patience, that is strength. The individual capable of remaining calm in the middle of a storm always wins. Why? Because they are alone in clear thinking while everyone else is flailing in emotion. The Stoics practice this every day. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. See that word, revoke. You can reclaim power in an instant. Think of the strength of that ability. An enemy mocks you, you don't respond, and now their weapon is powerless. A betrayal hurts. But rather than crashing, you use it to hone your resolve. A failure befalls you. But rather than panicking, you remain unflappable and locate solutions. That makes a person invincible. But here is the warning. If you don't train this, your enemies don't have to beat you. They'll just annoy you until you beat yourself. So practice this law. When the next thing gets you upset, stop, breathe, ask, is this worth my peace? 99% of the time, the answer will be no, and in that instant, you will know it. You will feel freedom. Law number 2 is this. Take ownership of your reactions or get owned. Write it down. My response is my power. Law number 3, keep your tongue safe and you keep your power safe. Words are arrows. Once you let them go, you can't get them back. And the Stoics understood that most individuals kill themselves, not by their enemies' blows, but by their own lips. Consider this. How many chances have been lost? How many bridges burned? How many regrets incurred simply because one could not remain silent? A thoughtless word, an angry outburst, a confidence betrayed in weakness. These can destroy an individual quicker than any outside foe. Epictetus advised, be largely silent, or speak only what is necessary. Not that silence is weakness, but that silence is power. Silence unnerves others. Silence makes people question. Silence shields you. Consider Marcus Aurelius. He was emperor, perhaps the most influential man on earth. He might have boasted, threatened, and bragged. And in his inner meditations, he reminded himself to remain humble, to remain quiet when inclined to speak out of pride. Why? Because the less you speak, the less power you relinquish. Even now, the rule applies. In debates, the loudest one does not win. The quiet, measured tone, the less said but more heard, that is the voice that overwhelms. In business, whoever listens more and says less is always the victor. In relationships, whoever doesn't beg, doesn't justify, doesn't overtalk. They command respect without asking for it. The reality is this. Your enemies would love for you to talk. They would love for you to respond, to defend yourself, to let them know your fears, your intentions, your vulnerabilities. But when you remain silent, you take that away from them. Silence is your shield, Seneca said. Speech is the mirror of the mind. If your words are uninhibited, your mind is uninhibited. If your words are controlled, your mind is controlled. Gag your tongue, and you demonstrate control over yourself. So how do you use this law? Begin small. Interrupt before you start speaking. When inclined to argue, ask, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me? Does this need to be said right now? A lot of times the answer will be no, and here is the secret that the Stoics knew. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. When you talk less, your words have more impact. People lean in when you finally decide to speak. So law number 3 is easy, but lethal potent. Watch your tongue, and you watch your power. Keep this in mind. Not everything that goes through your mind needs to be said. Silence is the language of power. Law number 4. Master your emotions, or your enemies will. The Stoics thought the battlefield of greatest importance wasn't out there in the world. It was within your chest, within your brain. Anger, jealousy, fear, pride, these were the enemies that could enslave even the strongest warrior. And the instant you let these emotions master you, you give your enemies the keys to your kingdom. Marcus Aurelius penned, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." If you let someone insult you and you lash out in anger, they are in control of you. If fate brings you trouble and you sink in despair, fate is in control of you. But if you discipline your mind to be calm, not ruffled, not susceptible, then no one can master you, not even destiny itself. Imagine a man who cannot be angered. You can yell at him, betray him, cheat him, taunt him, but he remains like a rock unshaken. That is frightening power, because whatever you do, it does not shatter him. Whatever you say, it does not rattle him. That is what the Stoics prepared themselves for. The power of not being moved in a storm, of not being broken under pressure. Seneca wrote, "Anger, an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured." That is, when you get angry, you hurt yourself more than your adversary. When you lose your cool, you lose your advantage. The new world lives on emotional responses. Social media desires you angry. Politicians desire you polarized. Your adversaries desire you triggered. Why? For the simple reason that a triggered man can't think straight. He is predictable, manipulable, and weak. The Stoic avoids this pitfall. He breathes. He waits. He backs away. He responds, not reacts. That pause, that instant of mastery, is what distinguishes the strong from the weak. Picture two boxers in the ring. One flails wildly in rage, wasting his energy in turbulence. The other waits calmly, thinking, measuring, accurate. Who do you think emerges victorious? The Stoics understood the answer. The one who masters his passions masters the result. So how do you enact this law? Start by observing your triggers. When anger comes, when fear grips, when jealousy murmurs, don't resist the feeling, but don't follow it either. Watch it, as if you were watching a storm roll through the sky. Let it in, let it out. Do not be its slave. Because here is the bottom line. The man who controls his emotions cannot be controlled himself. He is untouchable. So law number 4 is this. Master your emotions, or your enemies will. Remember, your emotions are meant to serve you, not enslave you. Law number 5. Walk alone when necessary. The Stoics taught that solitude is not loneliness. It is strength. Most people cannot stand being alone with their thoughts. They need constant noise, constant company, constant validation. But the one who can walk alone, stand apart, and remain whole, that person is untouchable. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "It is possible to be happy even in a palace." What he meant was that happiness does not hinge on company, on wealth, or on approval. Happiness originates from within. When you no longer dread being alone, you no longer dread losing anyone. That is freedom. Enemies lose their hold on you the moment you no longer need them. Friends can't manipulate you. Lovers can't control you. Society can't imprison you, because you are whole on your own. Law number 6. Practice ruthless discipline. The Stoics were mental warriors, but they knew that discipline had to carry over to the body, to the habits, to the everyday life. Epictetus lived in abject poverty, but he lived with tidiness. Seneca was rich, yet he fasted, bathed in cold water, and took times of plainness. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, woke up every morning reminding himself that luxury was the rival of greatness. Why? Because discipline is freedom. The man who can't master his habits is a slave to them. The man who can't command himself will always be commanded by others. But when you can compel yourself to get up early, to work out, to study, to persevere, you become unstoppable. And lastly, law number 7, accept fate, but never yield to weakness. The Stoics had a term, amorphete, love of fate. It refers to taking life as it presents itself, not fighting the storms, but proceeding through them with dignity, to accept what you cannot change, and struggling with every ounce of strength you have to change what you can. That balance makes you unassailable. Marcus Aurelius endured wars, betrayals, and plagues. He did not bemoan. "Why me?" he merely uttered. "If it is endurable, then endure it. If it is not, then stop complaining. Your destruction will end it." That is resilience. Your foes desire you shattered by fate. They desire you bitter, powerless, hopeless. But the Stoic mocks fate, he declares. "Throw at me what you will. I will not bow. I will not break. I will not surrender my mind." And so, these are the 7 Stoic laws to be untouchable. Control your perception. Live on purpose, not approval. Watch your tongue. Master your emotions. Walk alone when needed. Practice ruthless discipline, accept fate, but never yield, follow them. And you'll find the same thing the Stoics discovered, that true power doesn't derive from ruling over others. It derives from ruling over yourself. Take this to heart. The world cannot break a man who has already conquered his mind. He is invulnerable.